Put down your baby and pick up a beer or a bourbon. Dad Jokes is back with a brand new episode. I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon. And Brandon, it looks like you have some bourbon, and I didn't even know that. I definitely have some bourbon tonight, so
I got
I
some
guess it's a.
Angel's Envy in front of me right now.
Ooh, that's one of my
That's actually what
favorite
I took the extra
bourbons.
3 minutes to go get.
That's funny because I took 2 minutes to go get mine, but I did too. Mine, I'm not drinking Angel's Envy tonight. I think I'm drinking Mammoth from Traverse City. So not too bad. Any bourbon lovers out there? I do love a good Manhattan. That's my go-to drink, and definitely made a homemade Manhattan tonight for our podcast. And Brandon, it's been a couple weeks since we've been on here, but something weird just happened to me. I don't know if you know this, but in the last couple of days, a couple of days ago, I was noticing some weird stuff going on. So I went to the doctors, and I found out I was colorblind, and that was strange because it just kind of hit me out of the gray.
That was a good way to start unexpectedly because I didn't know where you were going for a second. I was like, is he telling the story already? That
Yeah.
made me giggle.
Yep, that was my dad joke for
Mine's
the day.
equally as corny.
Yeah, it definitely corny. I saw that. I thought it was funny. I'm not colorblind for the record. At least I don't think I am. Although I do have a very interesting theories on colors because really quickly, Brandon, because this always blew my mind when I was a kid. Because you're taught what a color is, right? So if I teach you what the color blue is, but the color blue looks to you what the color red looks like to me, is everyone's favorite color actually the same color, but they just see it differently because of the way they were taught it was?
So that's more of a philosophy question than an actual science question.
Both,
But
because you don't know what the color is a little bit because it's how your light or your eyes perceive light from the object. But anyways, we won't go too much into the scientific stuff there, but it is a philosophy question as well, so I will give you that. It is kind of a cool theory though, or a cool thing to think about if you think
yeah,
about
it's funny how sometimes you and I's like brains work in similar fashion because that's like a common thing I used to say to people when they like said the sky is blue. And this is stupid, but this is just what I would do. Is I'd ask them if you had a newborn kid and you told them that blue was really red, would it be blue to them or red? So this is this
so
is
Bryce will
this
think the
is
sky is
the
red.
dumb way. This is the dumb way that our brains our
It
brains
is.
work.
It is the dumb way. But Brandon, let's get into what's been going on with us the last couple of weeks. I think we've both had pretty busy weeks. I know a lot's gone on with you, a lot's gone on with us. So why don't you kind of talk us through what's been going on in the Banks household?
I mean, there is a lot. Since the last time we talked, Bryce had a birthday, so he is now officially 2 years old.
That's crazy.
It's unfreaking believable. We had a birthday get together, kind of a small get together with his friends and some family. It's just, and I say this all the time, it's so fun seeing him with other kids. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I know obviously you and I we're close, and it's cool to have kids the same age. But legitimately, Bryce and Peyton when they play with each other is like the cutest thing ever, and they both get
They're great
along well.
together.
Like it's kind of everything you could hope for. For like that your kid's gonna grow up with a friend,
Well, knock
and
on wood, but
it
they're not bad influences on each other yet either. Like I don't feel like, oh no, Bryce taught her something stupid. You know what I mean? Like some kids, you're like,
yeah, you probably
oh,
got to
what are you
worry
learning?
about me more than Bryce.
Yeah, but like they haven't. They like I don't feel like they're doing bad stuff together. Like they're more like just kind of playing and having fun, like in innocent kind of ways, which again I probably just jinxed them. But like you said, it is super cool to watch because some kids they your kid likes to hang out with, but you're like doing things you're like, no, I don't want you do, I don't want you doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, you give Bryce enough time, he probably will start climbing on stuff that you don't want Peyton climbing on. That'll be like the extent of what he's doing. But he had a cake experience. He went to town on the cupcake. But I mean, overall, I always said before we had any kids that it was gonna be like no birthday parties until they were like 3 or 4. I don't know why I had that thought, but in my mind it was pointless because the kid wouldn't remember it, and he had a great time. Um, we took him on his actual. We did that a couple days before his actual birthday. On his actual birthday, we took him to go get some Indian food, which is his favorite dish. That's a go to for us, and he got to have his first sucker. They found out it was his
Oh,
birthday, and they gave him I think it was a Tootsie Pop.
do you like it?
So loved it. and was
Okay.
asking for sucker because we had to take it away when the food came. And
That could be a dangerous word.
it was yeah. Oh, don't
uh,
yeah. You don't want to hear how he asked for passy. I'll just put it like
oh,
that. It's a
nice.
long A. That's my dad joke for the day.
Uh,
But he he definitely like really enjoyed the sucker. And, I mean, he knew what to do with it, which I don't know why that actually amazed me, but it
uh-huh.
did. Like it was natural, which is also a weird thing to say. But he had a good time. He can now, and I'm kind of moving a little rapid pace because we got a lot to go over. The both of us do. He can spell his name, so we were working on a
Oh,
couple
it's super
different
cool.
things with him for his second birthday. There's a couple things we really wanted him to be able to do, and I have an iPad that I'm on all the time, and it has an Apple Pencil, and he's always drawing on it. And so every day we go over like the letters of his name, and we draw letters, and we work with like colors and stuff like that. But I was kind of writing his name. My parents also have like magnet letters for their refrigerator, and he would call them out. And so now we worked on. If you ask him how to spell his name, he shoots about 60%. I'll say. And he shoots 100% if you start him out. So if I start off with Bryce, how do you spell your name? He kind of looks at you, and I say B, then he'll finish. But the other, when you want him to do it from the B to the end, it's about 60%. But it works pretty well for us. He can tell you that he's 2, and he's just really starting to pick up on like a lot of like the more nuances of conversation, which is fun. In addition to that week we went to we finally had our appointment with the allergist. We went because I don't know if you've been listening for a while, you might remember that Bryce had some issues with peanut butter. Like we've introduced it quite a few times, and every single time we introduced it, he had some sort of reaction. Typically, that reaction was him vomiting, which is not fun.
Not ideal.
So when we got there, and I actually texted you a picture from the office because it was crazy. But we get to the office. They come in. It's like a normal doctor visit at first. They get like height, weight, ask you a few questions, pretty in depth questions, and then I don't. Luckily, Kelsey is the most prepared human being I've ever met in my entire life because I would have just showed up with Bryce and like maybe like a spin toy, and been like, yeah, we're fine. But the kid has to like basically lay down on their stomach, and they have it's basically like a bunch of little pinpricks, but things that should trigger allergies if they're allergic to it that they put on their back. And then so there's a normal panel. I think it was like 8 dots, and then they did peanut butter separately. So it was the 9th dot kind of off to the side. But they have to like lay on their stomach and can't move for 20 minutes. I don't know how you're expected to do that with a 2-year-old.
That's an
But
eternity for a
luckily,
2-year-old.
it is crazy. 3 minutes when they can't move is an eternity.
30 seconds.
But luckily, Kelsey brought her iPad. She had a bunch of different toys. He definitely had a passing in his mouth at the time, which we'll get to in a hot second. But he at that point he Miss Rachel kept him pretty still. I was holding his hand, and he was pretty good. So ultimately, what the allergist said after the panel came back negative, his blood test at 11 months came back negative. So he technically is not allergic to anything, but she believes it's something called FPIES, which I'd never heard of before, but it stands for food protein induced enterocolitis syndrome. That was my first attempt at pronouncing that, and it was pretty good. But basically, it's a delayed gut reaction to certain foods that normally presents in the first couple years of a life. She said that it could end up leading to him being allergic, but she doesn't, based on everything she's seen, doesn't think that might be the case. And her recommendation was for us to try to reintroduce peanut butter at 1 year after the last time we gave it to him. So that's going to be towards the beginning of next year. So we're going to try it again. He proved to not be technically allergic to it. And we'll kind of go from there. And then my last couple things, he's been saying please and thank you like appropriately. The please, he just says please for everything, so I shouldn't call that appropriate. He just, if he wants
It's
something,
another
he says
word for
please.
want.
And Yeah, between please and no, I honestly I could never hear those words again and be fine. But it is kind of cute. Like we've been working with him to say thank you, and then
Mhm.
when he unprompted says it, which is happening all the time now. So you give him something that he wants, or he asks for like his baba or some water. You hand it to him, and he says thank you, which is super cute. And then my last thing, he had his 2 year old doctor appointment today, and he's 95th percentile in height, 85th percentile in weight. He's at 29 pounds, which he hasn't really gained weight in the last like since the last doctor's visit. The last doctor visit he was just under 29 pounds. Now he was just over 29 pounds. But he's definitely a growing boy, and we are enjoying every minute we have with him. What you
So
guys been up
Brandon,
to?
he's officially 2. Have you flipped the car seat around?
The car seat. Oh, absolutely not. You talking about the front forward facing?
Yep, forward facing.
That's a good point. I think you and I can't remember if it was you and I or me and Kelsey, but we kind of had this conversation. We're keeping him in rear facing until basically the last possible moment. And
Yeah, I think Macy
as
would
far as
keep.
we're concerned,
Yeah,
that might be a couple years
yeah,
from now.
Macy might keep Peyton in it till she's 18, rear facing.
Yeah,
So
legit.
I'm just
I
curious,
agree
but yeah.
with Macy.
But yeah, Brandon, no, we've been up to a lot. A lot's happened. I think that you know a couple stories from the last couple weeks that big things happened. Obviously, we went for Bryce's second birthday, and that was fun seeing Peyton and Bryce hang out together. Was a lot of fun, and actually Avery was great during the whole time, which is not her mo, which I'll get to in a
She has
second.
only ever
But
been great when we're
yeah,
around, for the record.
but yeah, she was great during that, and Peyton was great. But it was funny because that day I had to work, and so we were going to be a little bit late. I get home from work, I walk in the door, and both kids are screaming. And normally, like, I mean, that's not that uncommon, honestly. I'll just be honest with you. But Macy's over it. She's like, you could tell. I could just tell. I'm like, oh man, she's done with this. So she's over it. I get through the door. Like I wasn't planning on changing and maybe, even maybe taking a quick shower and then going to your house. I didn't change. I didn't do nothing. I just got the kids ready and we left. Kids are screaming in the car. I'm thinking, man, I'm going to get to Brandon's house and we're going to be there 20 minutes and we're going to have to get out of there because these kids are crazy. They're like, I mean, they're losing their mind. Macy's over it. I'm like, this is terrible. We get there and she was an angel. Peyton was an angel. Avery was an angel. They both were angels. It all worked out. So it was great, which is just funny how parenting works, right? And then Macy, relaxed and things were good. But the funny part about this all, Brandon, is she's over it. She's looking at me like, these are your kids. You deal with them. We're at your house. We go through it. We leave. We're leaving your driveway, and I kid you not. And she looks at me and she goes, "This is things your wife said, by the way. Anyone who listens to the show." She looks at me and she goes, "I could, I think I could do 4." I go, "4?"
Wow.
I go, "4 what?" And she goes, "Like 4 kids." I said, "Well, we just skipping 3, we going to 4?" She goes, "Well, what's the difference between 4 and 2?" I said, "2. That's the difference between 4 and 2.
Hey,
Literally 2." Uh,
Macy, I see your math and I agree with it. If I'm
it
gonna
was
have three, I'm probably gonna have four,
well, it was just
or I'm gonna
funny
stay at
because
two.
she went from like it was just funny because then I looked at her and I said we can't handle I said we can't handle 2 kids. She goes, we couldn't handle 1. She said, what's the difference? So apparently she's just like all in. It was just funny because we went from she was over it to all of a sudden I'm having 4 kids out of nowhere. Which anyone
I
who's
want
like I said
everybody who just heard Jerry say that to go listen to the
exactly
episode right after
because
Avery was born.
and that's what I was getting to. Like it's funny how life works because legitimately after Avery was born, Macy was done, and in my head I was like, yeah, I still was like, okay, let's give it time, but I was way more close to it being done. And then now we're a couple months later, and she's all back on board, and she loves newborns too, so she's definitely like with Avery and loving and already with Avery growing a little bit. I think she's getting kind of sad, even though she's only not even 3 months yet. But yeah, that was one story. Speaking of Avery's she's definitely growing. She's getting bigger. She was funny because she was a big baby, then she kind of started to get thin out and get smaller, but now she's kind of getting chunky again. And she's not fitting into like her 0 to 3 stuff, or so she's getting big. Um, and she's starting to show more, like she's starting to look more like Peyton a little bit. A lot of people have said that, and she's getting more personality. But she's she's still an angry baby. She still tends to be, if she's awake, pretty cranky. And a story about this, Brandon. So Macy went back to work just the other day, her first day back to work, which was emotional. What's interesting is when Macy works, she works till she doesn't get home till a little after 8 o'clock. So usually I get home depending on if it's my early day or late day, and I'm with the kids for a little bit. Well, in the past, it was just Peyton, right? And me and Peyton kind of have a routine, but this is going to be my first time with Peyton and Avery during a work setting. So I'm getting home from work at 5 this day. So I have the kids for about 3 hours before Macy gets home. And this 3 hours is a big 3 hours because not only are you watching the kids, but you got dinner time during this time. I got to feed the baby a bottle. I got a lot of stuff going on, right? So I
Get
get
ready for
home,
bed.
yeah, the kids are being pretty good. It's going well, and all of a sudden it gets to be about dinner time. And I think I got this great plan. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get Peyton in her high chair. I'm gonna get her a bunch of food ready, and then while she's eating, I'm gonna feed the baby. Everybody's gonna be happy. Baby's gonna be fed. I'm gonna be able to chill with, put the baby down like in her seat or on her piano mat and play with Peyton. It's gonna be fun. And so I've given Avery a bottle multiple times before, never really had an issue. Well, apparently Avery knew this was Dad's first day, where, and so I get Peyton in the chair. All of a sudden, I grab the bottle, and I don't know if this is where I messed up. I don't know where I messed up, but anyways, I grab a bottle and I didn't heat it up. I'm like, Peyton used to take cold bottles. I'm like, I want to see if Avery takes a cold bottle. So I start feeding Avery, and she starts taking it. I'm like, okay, good. And then all of a sudden, she's acting like she's dying, like choking, like I'm waterboarding
Oh
her or
my
something.
goodness.
Like she's like making, like, a baby. Like I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you
Yeah.
freaking out about? So I'm like, all right, fine. Let me go heat the bottle up. Maybe that's what's making her mad. So I heat the bottle up, come back, still acting like it, acting crazy, like legitimately, like she's choking, dying. I'm like, what is going on? So I'm starting to get
Best
annoyed.
thing we ever did was never give Bryce warm bottles.
Yeah. Well, we never did it with, I never did with Peyton. I mean, some people did, but like she didn't care. So, anyways, well, it didn't matter. So she's still mad. Finally, I started to get to take the bottle, and then all of a sudden I look down and the bottle's leaking everywhere. And I'm like,
Oh
what the
no.
frick? So now I got to stop,
I
fix the
forgot about
bottle,
that.
up because it's leaking all over her and me. And then she won't take it again. And I mean, she's screaming and mad, and I'm getting mad. And I'm like, what is going on? All of a sudden, Peyton's in her high chair doing the all done symbol. I'm all done, all done. I'm like, oh, great. Chill out,
She
Peyton.
flexing on you.
Oh, yeah. She's like ripping her bib off, doing the hand signals. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. So I get Peyton down, and I'm still trying to feed the baby. She's not taking it. Finally, I'm like getting mad. The baby's like acting like she's dying. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Just take your dumb bottle, right? All of a sudden, she like starts coughing, and a bunch of like phlegm comes out, like a ton. And
Oh
it's all
no.
over her. And I start freaking out, like, what the heck? So I get to the sink, I wipe her down. She's okay. Now I'm also concerned. I'm like mad at her. I went from mad at her to like concerned because, like, I mean, I never seen her do this before. Like, she's got like phlegm everywhere. I'm like, what the heck just happened? So I wait 10 minutes or so. I'm trying to calm her down. I try to feed her the bottle again. Still won't take it. Eventually, I switch bottles to the Hero Ability bottles that Peyton used to like every once in a while. And after a minute or two with that, she finally took the bottle and got it. But it was about an hour of just chaos. And I'm like, what is happening to me? After that, I kind of, and she still was kind of cranky, but I was able to hold her and kind of calm her down a little bit. And Peyton was doing her thing, and we made it through the day. But yeah, that was definitely an interesting first day for Dad taking care of the kids. So it'll be this weekend. I have them because Macy works all weekend, so it'll be. We'll see if Dad does better with bottles because he's going to feed her about 4 or 5 bottles instead of just one this weekend. So we'll see how that goes. But that was fun. Other than that, Brandon, a couple like quick pointers is Peyton. Well, we're going to talk about this today. Is like parent preference. Peyton's starting to get a little bit of like she was getting like anxiety of being away from Macy and becoming more and more clingy with her and wanting to be by her all the time. I just started recently, and it's not, I don't know, it's not quite what you're going through. We'll go through this more later, but that started this week. And then she's also started to she can count to 3 now. She can do 1, 2, 3, which is kind of fun. I've been doing that with her for a while. She started getting better with colors. Like the other day, she has like these scarves, and she had a red one. I was like, "Go get me the other red one," and she'd get it. She'd grab a yellow one, go the other one, yellow one. She did it like with all of them, so that's kind of cool. Her comprehension is like through the roof right now. She knows things that I didn't know. She like today I was like, "Go turn the light off." I didn't even know she knew what a light was. And she went right there and was like laughing, trying to get it. I was like, "Okay, well she knows that." But her speech is still lacking. She like doesn't like to say things, but she understands what you're saying. So we're working on that. But she's definitely understanding a ton. Other than that, we had a Labor Day party that she did good with, hanging out with some of her cousins, having fun with them. And then we had the first Michigan game of the year, which is kind of cool. I got to get the girls dressed in Michigan gear and watch the game with them. So I'd hopefully try to get Peyton a little bit into football. But I'll tell you, Brandon, it's a fun age right now. Peyton's definitely at a fun age. She's learning a ton. She's having fun. She's just a blast to be around. And even when she gets cranky now, and she definitely gets cranky, most of the time I can get her over it pretty quickly. Where I know we went through a spell where it was really tough. Now it's not that tough. Most of the time I can get her over being cranky without too much effort, which is fun. Although I will say one negative thing about this age is she's starting to become a picky eater again. Or she keeps going through stages where she's not picky at all, then she's picky, then not picky. And right now she's in a stage where she's definitely picky, which is frustrating, but you just got to keep working through it. But it was overall it was a good couple weeks. And like I said, I know the stage Peyton's at right now is it's been a ton of fun. It's just cool to see her grow and just learn things. And like I said, today, even something simple like just being like, "Hey, go shut the light off." And she knew exactly what to do. I was like, "Oh, I didn't know she knew that," but she did. And she thought it was awesome, by the way, shutting the light off. She felt like a big girl when I picked her up and she hit the light switch. So that was, that
Wait
was
till she
cool.
starts just walking up to him and flipping them on and off on her
Oh, well,
fingers.
she's not quite
It
tall
goes
enough,
from
but
cute
she
to annoying.
definitely would. Yeah, she definitely would without a doubt. She loves like buttons and switches, so I have no doubt. She tries to get into doors all the time right now, but she can't quite get the doors. Like she doesn't know how to turn all the way. She knows how to twist back and forth, but she doesn't get that you have to go all the way to the
You may
left or
not
all the
want
way to
her
the right.
hanging around Bryce. What's
No, not
crazy
for
is
that.
her between my dad and Kelsey's mom. There is nothing that from even from like a baby he wasn't taught to do like early on with stuff like that. Like my dad had him flipping light switches, touching the lights. My in law had him doing the exact same thing, going outside doing stuff. It's honestly crazy, but
It is cool what they
he
that they
he
learn.
has a good time, dude. It's
Yeah.
I mean it's amazing.
Yeah, and like you said, even seeing them with, like I know seeing her with Bryce, and then like with some of her cousins, it was just fun. Like we went out to dinner, which is always an experience with a bunch of people. Then there was a bunch of kids there. Some of my nieces and nephews, but also my brother-in-law's good friends were there. They have small kids, and Peyton was hanging around with two girls that are like 7, right? So they're older, but they were like being super good with her, and she was having fun following them and listening to them. And it's just cute, like and just and even at my dad's house, like she went off with the older kids and was on the trampoline, and like they're do a good job with her, and she's running on the trampoline having fun. It's just cool seeing her interact with other kids and starting to get to the point where she's good going off without mom or dad, and likes to have fun. So that's good, because she sometimes could be shy, but now she's pretty good at playing with others, and I honestly think it's good for her because I think she learns a lot of times.
Yep.
I know after we hung out with Bryce, like I said, we struggle sometimes with her speech. Not that she doesn't know the words, but she doesn't like to say them a lot, or she'll say them and
I
stop.
thought she was
But
talking nonstop at our house
well, she
between my
talks
parents
nonstop
and Bryce.
gibberish, but she started saying more things like I know after that, and like she says night night a lot now, and she says she says here you go, she says thank you, but she's starting to say, she says this new thing, it sounds like she's saying Nicole, but me and Macy cannot figure out what she's trying to say. She's been saying it for the last 3 days all the time. She's like Nicole. We're like, what? we
Any
cannot figure
friends
out what
named
she's trying to
Nicole?
say. I have
Does
no idea.
Grandma have any friends named Nicole?
No, it's weird. I think she's trying to say two different words, but I don't know what the two words are. Um, she loves the word no, so I don't know if one's no. It almost sounds like no cold, like no, she's cold, but I don't think that's it. I don't know. She says baby. I mean, she's like I said, she's not. It's just stringing the speech together. Is a little bit what we're working on. But Brandon, you said you had a piece of baby gear this week. What's your piece of baby gear to go over?
Well, I'm probably gonna have baby gear for days after Bryce's birthday, but it's something that I think you've brought up before, but we never bought because honestly, I'm looking at the price tag on these things. I'm like, I'm not trying to spend that much money. But Magnetiles,
Oh
Bryce got his
yes,
first couple boxes of Magnetiles, and I am going to have fun with those
dude, I
as he
told
gets
you.
older.
It's more for
It's
us than it is for them.
those are super cool. I was sitting playing around with them, and I mean he
There's an
doesn't really know what he's
Instagram
doing
page.
yet.
There's an Instagram page that you should follow, Brandon, about like magnetiles that my brother-in-law showed me. It's that you can build some crazy things. And it's cool.
I mean the concept behind them is cool. And I was never really big into Legos growing up. This is better than Legos to me. They just
Oh,
I
I
mean
think
them
so.
things are expensive.
They are.
So he just need to keep having birthdays because that might be the only way he getting those.
Yeah, they're
But
super cool. Like the first time I saw them, like I was like, I'm buying a bunch of these today for Peyton. Then I saw the price tag. Guess how many I bought for Peyton? Zero. I was like, Christmas
yeah,
come around, maybe we'll buy some, but not just off the blue because they are expensive, but they are super cool, and I think they're probably pretty good for them. They help teach them stuff, so it's not like just
no, I mean he was sitting there, even though he like didn't completely get it. I mean, even the from a problem solving perspective, I mean, you have to figure out which ones fit the right way to kind of do what you want to do. And he was twisting the tiles around to kind of we were building basically a box, but he got that concept at least. So that was super fun. You have a piece of baby gear this week?
I do. My piece of baby gear will probably be this week and next week because I ordered it. It arrived. I'm excited for it, but I have not built it yet. So I can't tell you the end result. But basically, Peyton for a long time has been super, super into like art. She loves to color with markers, with crayons. She loves to paint. I mean, the kid loves like if she's upset and you ask her if she wants to color, that will calm her down most times. Loves crayons. And the problem is Macy's always taking pictures. She's coloring underneath the table on the carpet or on the couch or on stairs. And she's always like, she's got nowhere to do this at. Or, and we have a really nice table that was custom made for us by one of our friends, actually. So I don't like her to draw on that because it's like, literally handmade for us. So I bought her an art table that came here. I've not built it yet, but it's the Infants 2-in-1 kid art table. It's got two chairs. It's got a little cubbies that you can put stuff in on the side. It opens up for more storage. It folds into an easel. It's it's super cool looking. I'm excited for it. So I do have to build it. But I think Peyton's gonna love it because she likes sitting at little tables too. Anywhere there's a little table, she thinks it's cool. So I'm excited to build it, and I want to see what she thinks of it. But it'll be kind of a cool thing for her to do her art projects on. So that's my piece of baby gear. There's lots of them out there. I looked at a ton. We picked this one mostly because it kind of goes with the aesthetic of the house, but also like has some additional storage that will help not take up too much room because we can kind of kill two birds with one stone with the storage and the art table stuff. So
Well, you
that's my piece
mentioned
of baby
bad
gear.
habits.
Mm-hmm.
When she was actually at our house, we had crayons out, and Bryce has interacted with crayons a little bit. Mostly, it's been like chalk outside, where
Mm-hmm.
you don't care where he like writes at. Even though he grabs the chalk and tries to like run to Kelsey's car to write on the side of it, which is weird. But Peyton's over there. She has the crayons. There's a coloring book over there. She's drawing neatly on the coloring book. And what does Bryce do? He grabs the crayon and starts drawing on a new like table it's his table, but the stools and the table he starts drawing on it. So hopefully she wasn't paying much attention to him because that could have been a bad habit
No,
that
she's
she
pretty
she
good with that. She's
picked up
done
on.
it a few times, but I think we've nipped that in the bud. But um, she does. I mean, the kid loves to color. The funny part is though, if she's coloring, she wants you to participate, and she will hand you the crayon you're supposed to have. And the second she's done with you having that color crayon, she will take it from you and hand you the other crayon she wants you to have. You only
Like,
can
I
color
do
with that
love
crayon
how
for as long as
decisive
she
she
has.
is.
Oh,
She
and she'll
definitely
get
knows what she
mad too.
wants.
She'll like grunt at you almost like, and like be like mad like if you don't take the crayon right away, or like if you're like she's like, no, you don't use that color anymore, Dad. You use this color now. Oh, okay. And sometimes I'll hold it and pretend like I don't feel like coloring, so I'll just like hold it, and then she'll look at me like, no, I know you're not coloring. get over here and color more. So it's like, okay. So yeah, no, but I'm excited for that. I think it'll be good. I'll follow up on that the next time we get on here. But I think it's a good place for us to get into today's topic, Brandon. It's a topic that's kind of touched both of our lives. I know it's been definitely on your guys' mind lately. And I think every family probably goes through this in some form or another with their kids. And if you have multiple kids, it might be different for each kid. I've heard that from parents too. But basically, it's parental preference. And what we mean by that is, what do you do? What does it mean? What can you do about it when your kid goes through either a phase or a long stretch of time where they seem to prefer one parent over the other, or even in a certain act if they prefer parent in a certain situation or an act over the other parent. So that's kind of what we're talking about, parental preference. And I know, Brandon, I'll kind of let you start because you guys have been going through this pretty heavily for the last little bit.
Yeah, it's honestly just, and I think we'll probably treat this as a quick hitter topic because we spent so long on the update. But our experience with it is, I mean, it sucks from my perspective. I'm the parent who's not preferred. And I also, I mean, we'll talk about it from both sides, but it also from Kelsey's side is, I mean, there's a bunch more pressure on her, and she feels like she almost has to always be on. Because even if I'm there, and if she needs to go upstairs to do something, Bryce definitely, especially at the time that I originally brought this up, which was about 2 weeks ago. I mean, we went through about a 2 week stretch where she couldn't leave the room without him like wailing, and it took a lot to get him calmed down. Now we started to figure certain things out to get him to that point. But just I guess a little bit more background. So what it looks like for us is, at its worst, she can't leave a room. Now that is rare during the day. He might say like, "Bye, mommy. Where are you, mommy?" and repeat the "bye, mommy" until he kind of like works himself up. But normally, if I grab him, kind of distract him, we might go down in the basement where he has a play area. I might utilize Miss Rachel for like 3 minutes just to get him to calm down, and then like it's kind of a reset. I can normally distract him during the day. The real issue and kind of why I brought this up as a, hey, we should talk about this on the podcast topic is, we were originally supposed to record last week this time. We record on Wednesdays. The previous week and a half, I'm the person who normally in the middle of the night, if Bryce wakes up, I go in. Never been a problem. He wakes up in hysteria, and I cannot get him to calm down, and he's asking for Kelsey, and that a it kind of sucks for her because she has to wake up, and I'm already there, but it's almost impossible to get him to calm down. So that's where we started seeing that kind of bleed in and affecting us even more than the day to day things. But ultimately, and we kind of that's a little bit of background on it. It can be a challenging situation, and we're going to explore the strategies from both sides, like I mentioned. But parental perspective from like a child's point of view is really about like the mix of emotions. So kind of throughout this topic, a main article that I looked at is something Kelsey sent me, from is by Big Little Feelings, and from the perspective of like the child, the phase is typically influenced by like a variety of factors. So it's the relationship that they maybe have developed with one. Like he's definitely spent, based on my work schedule, a little bit more time with her, and that also coincided with a period of time where I was working more like full day. So like what we consider bell to bell. So I might work like a 10, 11 hour day. And so he's spending more time with Kelsey. And that definitely, and we'll get into some strategy, but that definitely coincided with this flip. And then there's one other thing I'll reveal after Jerry kind of goes through the. I think we have a theory of as to why it sparked this.
Yeah, so I mean, just a little bit, like for us, we've gone through like phases with Peyton, um, where I would say she preferred me, and we've gone through phases where she preferred Macy. None of them have been terrible.
Bryce has never
Um,
preferred me, just for the record.
And I think what you see sometimes about parental preference is it's not just like, okay, I prefer mom or I prefer dad. Sometimes it's I prefer mom for baths. Like if I'm getting a bath, I always want mom. And like I always put Peyton down. So I don't even know what she prefers. I just always do that, right? Which honestly can cause issues like if Macy had to put her down, but it doesn't that hasn't seemed to be our case. But what I've noticed lately is like I said, Peyton's kind of gotten into preferring mom. It seems like when she's upset, if she is hurt or overly tired or upset about something, that's when she wants mom. And normally, like if she's upset or whatever, one of us could take care of her, get her calmed down. Well, lately, like if I grab her and she's really upset because of like she's like hurt or she's like overly tired, it's almost like you said, I can't get her to calm down. It's like she needs mom, and mom will get her to calm down right away. So that is frustrating because it's like, okay,
How yeah,
what?
how
Yeah.
annoying is that when it
It's
happens?
super
Like
annoying. Like
you
the
could
other day,
you
she's
could
like,
spend 35
right.
minutes trying to do it.
Well, and the other annoying part, like right now for us, is like, and this is on honestly more on Macy's side than mine, but like Macy a lot of times like in these situations isn't grabbing her because she has Avery. So she's taking care of the baby. So I'm like, okay, I'll grab Peyton, I'll calm her down. And then Peyton's like, no, I need mom. And I don't know if that's why this is happening. I think, and that's my theory, is I think it's a little bit of the jealousy or the, oh, mom's comforting the baby. I want mom to comfort me. Because most of these times Macy has the baby in her arms. And if you read some articles, which I read a bunch about this, same kind of thing says a lot of times like big changes, like a new baby or moving or a change in job or change in scenery or a change in one parent doing something that they didn't used to do can cause a kid kind of act out in this way. So Payne hasn't been super jealous over Avery, but lately I think she's been a little more jealous than she was in the past. And I think, especially with like mom's attention, I think that could be playing a role here. So I think that for us at least, that's part of the reason why she's I want mom. I'd be interested to see like in those situations if she's upset if I had Avery, if that still be the case. It's probably something we should see just to kind of notice if
Yeah,
that's what's
almost
going
test
on or
it out.
not. Yeah, but yeah, that's kind of our theory, Brandon. What's your theory that you're talking about?
So I was trying to figure out the best way on the podcast to kind of announce this, but to me, this is the best time, so we can kind of just speak freely. But we are expecting a new baby boy that's going to
There
come
we go. I was
next
wondering if you're going to
February.
bring that up today.
I didn't plan on it fully, but it's not a secret. So who better to know than our listeners? But this also, and I might be crazy, but it kind of coincided with when we started talking to Bryce about like mommy's having a baby, and I know he doesn't fully understand it, but it's almost like this is a bad example, but they say like dogs can just kind of sense it, right?
No, I get it because I've thought that
I get
kids
that
can.
weird feeling like he kind of is a little bit different.
Peyton did for sure.
But what I will say, and one of the strategies that, I mean, this is very straightforward, and I'm going to simplify kind of the strategy spelled out in the article, but it's time. And if it going into last week when we were originally going to record, I mean, this was a major issue. And one other thing, let me not say major issue, but it was. I mean, it was affecting me. Like, I would. I mean, you coming home from work, and I'm trying to hang out with my kid. He does a great job of playing independently. So I can go try to play with him and do what he's doing. He could care less if I'm there. Like he'll interact with me when he feels like it. And in his defense, it's the same way with Kelsey. Like he doesn't need her around to have fun playing. Like he acts like an only child. He plays well by himself,
Right.
which you want. Like that's a healthy thing. But I also miss out on some of that interaction because I'm trying to play with him. I'm trying to be intentional about developing like the relationship. And the dude, honestly, he's gonna interact with me when he feels like it. He doesn't care. So what actually helped is he had after that allergist appointment. Unfortunately, my parents, I went to drop Bryce off, and my mom had just had a procedure done, and she had fell asleep. Like I texted her we were on the way. She had told me she was at home. She didn't answer the door. recently changed locks on the house. I didn't have a key to the storm door. Couldn't just walk in there, and my dad was nowhere to be found. So I went home and I talked to work and I said, hey, I'm probably gonna have to take the day because nobody's answering the phone. I can't just leave my kid. And that actually just the time mom wasn't around. Mom wasn't there to like where he felt like she was leaving. So the one-on-one time we had, and we just basically played all day. We went down to the basement. I had my work computer up, and he just like we were interacting with the kitchen. That made a significant difference. Um, Basically, up until now, in like the day to day, it's still some issues at night, but luckily he's been sleeping a little bit better. So I guess the number one thing I'd say is if you can find a way to spend some one-on-one time, which is a variety of the little tips that you'll see if you're researching this. They kind of all allude to similar things like doing things as a family, finding activities that maybe the kid does with just one parent versus the other, depending on who the preferred parent is. But it really comes down to be intentional and try to spend as much time with your kid as possible. And that definitely made a difference in how the last week at least has gone. I hope the kid stays asleep. We still haven't had a ton of luck in the middle of the night.
Well, one, I'd like to say congratulations. I'm super excited for you guys.
Thank you.
I think it's obviously it's going to be amazing, but I think it'll be also a lot of fun just to talk about it because you'll be going kind of through it. You had Bryce first, so I kind of was following you, and now you're kind of following us with the second one. And it's just some of the things are different, and it'll be cool to see kind of the experiences you guys have, and you've seen some of those differences too, and it'll be fun. I'm excited for that too. So that's
I might have
exciting.
derailed the topic with that announcement, but
Oh, that's
you
all.
mentioned
Yeah,
something there.
it was good.
The
I wasn't gonna bring it up, but
I feel
it's
like we also need
exciting.
to be able to speak freely, like, and
Yeah,
that's kind of
no,
an elephant in the room that you know
it
and I know.
is. Well, that
But
honestly, that's what
the,
led to Macy the whole 2 to 4 comment was because we we were talking to you guys about the new baby, and I think it just kind of got her in her head, like you know what, that I could do it again. So, but no, it is exciting and it's funny. Even we've had some conversations since we kind of found out about not but differences between having one versus two, and kind of how the second pregnancy is a little different, and so that'll be fun to kind of go dive deep in on the podcast and go over because it is a little bit different, and it's fun, and
hey,
it's
that
just
might be
it's
the next
exciting.
topic.
Yes. But going back to today's topic, tips for what kind of stick. I think I'll stick on if you're the parent that maybe isn't the preferred parent, let's call it. What can you do? You said time. That's obviously a big thing. But the other things is trying to be proactive, not just time, but like finding things like maybe if there's something they're interested in or something that that they enjoy, being a part of that. So if they love baths, be the one who gives them baths for a while. Or if they love to go to a certain, like let's say they love the aquarium or they love the park or they love being outside, spend that kind of time with them so they associate positive things with you. What not to do, don't force like physical affection, like don't make yourself like you need to love me kind of thing. That doesn't tend to work. um and you
Even if
can't
that's what
take
you
it
want to
personally
scream.
too. Yeah, exactly, because you can't take it personally because they're young, they don't really know what they're doing yet, and like I said, could be a lot of reasons why it's happening. It could be changes, it could be things going on, it could be like just they see mom more, right, or dad more if dad's the preferred parent. But so what can you do? Like you said, a lot of it's time, but it's also make sure you're spending time in the right manners. So like I read things, it's like, okay, like I said, bath time. If mom's always giving the baths and the kids like baths, that's not helping your case. Give baths. You don't have to be the only one. Maybe it's every other day you rotate who does the bath, or every other time. Or reading books. Like maybe you rotate who puts the baby down, or who does feeds the baby or does dinner time. Like rotate different tasks so that it's not like, because you might not know what it is. And if you're doing everything that the mom's doing and the mom's doing everything that the dad's doing, it will help maybe not maybe a preferred parent, because maybe they're preferring one parent because of something they associate that parent with. So if you help eliminate that where you're both doing both tasks, it can, potentially help with them preferring one parent. So I think that's
Yeah,
smart. It makes sense.
and I'm going to hit on the perspective quickly of the actual preferred parent, but to piggyback or to have a comment on what Jerry said, you can do everything that he just said, and that's exactly what you should be trying to do, and it still doesn't work. And you have to find a way to understand, as he mentioned, it's not really on you, it's not really on the child, but children go through phases where they're absolutely going to prefer one parent over the other. And it may manifest itself in a way that's unfortunately frustrating for you, but you have to just stay consistent. Because there was
For
nothing
both
really that
parents,
I was
for both
doing
parents
different.
too,
Oh,
Brandon. You know
absolutely.
what I mean? Like they're gonna like mom more at one point. They're probably gonna like dad more at both points. You're both gonna go through it.
When this new baby come, me and Bryce gonna be home. Is Kelsey gonna be saucy? Sorry,
That's
Kelsey.
probably true, actually.
It is true though. But from if I'm talking about this from the Kelsey point of view, like it's tough to be that parent, and they might argue that it's even tougher to be them, because they, you might think from like my point of view that they have it made. He always wants to be around her or play with her. It can only be a positive thing, but it can be kind of a complex mix, because there could be a sense of pressure. It can be an overwhelming feeling, and the part of the reason I brought up the fact she's pregnant right now is the on this in this pregnancy she has been feeling a lot more pregnant, for
Yeah.
the best way to put it, than she did the first go around. Bryce's when she was pregnant with Bryce really had what I think she would call almost a perfect pregnancy. There was not a lot of things that she felt physically that had her like kind of thrown off her game, if you will. This is completely different, and not it's just a combination of being sick, but also like you have a tired feeling, and so you're doing all that, and it's coinciding with a child who literally won't like leave your side or who kind of freaks out if you're leaving. So there are definite feelings of overwhelming there. And the preferred parent might worry about like meeting the child's expectation. Sometimes there could be pressure, and I don't think this is the case with us, but maybe it might be pressure to maintain that preference. Like you don't necessarily
Mm-hmm.
like you don't want to be the parent who's potentially getting shunned. So it isn't necessarily like the a choice either one of us would make. But you gotta, and from my side, I think what's important is recognizing that she probably can't really catch a break. So where else can I pick up the slack? Because she's pregnant, and B,
Yeah.
she got a kid who won't leave her side. So, and as dads, we know what areas. I don't have to get into that you can figure out how to help there. And
Yep.
I think that's actually something I've done well in this period of time.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned the preferred parent, like how can the preferred parent and the unpreferred parent like work hand in hand? Well, it's supporting each other. It goes both ways too. So like you mentioned, Brandon, too, like if you're the preferred parent, you have kind of an advantage because the kid prefers you. Use that to help the unpreferred parent, help support them, help get them excited about, like, so in your situation, like, Kelsey helping Bryce get excited about spending time with dad, or dad doing bath tonight, or dad put, you know what I mean? That's the one way you can help
And
if you're
she
the other
definitely
parent.
does that.
And then it also helps take some of the stress off them. So that's important. One thing I read that was kind of cool too, Brandon, and this is probably for kids that are a little bit older than Bryce and Peyton, but maybe not. But definitely if your kid's older, because again, it's not like it's only for toddlers. Like this can go, honestly, this can go until uh, even adulthood. But I don't know if that's probably too late to
32.
fix it. Exactly. um, but anyways, like create a plan and help get the kids involved in a plan. And what I mean by that is like, let's say dad's the one who's the unpreferred parent for the moment. If you create like a chart for like, hey, mom's responsible for dinner tonight, but dad's responsible for bath time. And then, oh, you're going to spend 30 minutes hanging out with dad in the basement today, and then mom's going to do story time. And you create kind of a chart and you create these expectations, but the kid's involved in it and you let them kind of see what's going on. One, it helps them kind of get some structure and they feel like they're part of like almost like a game or like a system. And then two, when it is that plan, they're not as surprised. And if they, and the key is like, if you do this, stick to it. So if it's dad's turn for bath and the kid's upset because they want mom to do the bath, no, dad's got to do the bath. But then they know when it's mom's turn, and now it goes back to dad's turn. And if you can kind of create that plan, like I literally read that like there's an example of this parent like did a chart, like it was literally a chart of things for both parents, and but the kid it was like in the kid's room and the kid was like involved in it, and it like really helped them because like the kid felt like okay, they knew whose turn it was to do what, and it kind of got them excited about different things. And it's like okay, I like the way dad does this but mom does this, and they kind of learned what they liked and didn't like. And I don't know, it's one way to get them involved. And again, probably the kid a little bit older than two, but maybe not. It's just another idea, something to kind of help out. And I think anything you can make fun or make to a place where a young child can understand will help them. Because if they don't understand what's going on, then they get upset. They don't know why they can't have mom, right? Well, if you can't have mom because it's not mom's time, it's dad's time. You can see like today's dad's day. Look, it's in blue. Blue's for dad, red's for mom. Then they kind of go, oh, okay, that makes more sense to them.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, the with an older child, another thing you can do is it's just it's going to sound simple, but just have a conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel like they're at an age where you can have a conversation if they understand, maybe you try to understand why they potentially prefer one parent over the other. What are their feelings involved with that? And just in general, having open dialogue conversations with your kids is a good habit to get into, because they can feel like you're a safe space to express yourselves or express
Yep.
themselves to, and that especially when they hit them teenage years.
Mm.
That's the type of habit that is very helpful, in my opinion, to establish
Yeah,
because
you want to be
you
someone that they can talk to.
yeah you may run into some conversations you don't want to have, but you rather they had it with you than you be in the dark as to
Yep.
what's going on, and that can be established at as early as you possibly can.
Yep. But overall, Brandon, I think, if right now maybe you're the unpreferred parent, one, don't take it too much to heart. Don't get discouraged. Keep doing the right things and it'll sort itself out. And if you are the preferred parent, relish it a little bit, maybe be happy, but also maybe understand what the other parent is going through and try to be helpful there too, because again, it can swing back and forth kind of like a pendulum. You can take the good with the bad, but overall, I think any healthy relationship or any healthy parenting, you want it to be a partnership, a team. So you want both parents to be strong and to be able to have a good impact on their kid, and you want their kids to be excited to see. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love when my kids want to see me and are excited for me, but I also love when they're excited to see mom too. So you want them to be excited for both sides. And like right now, Avery definitely is closer with mom than dad, but that's okay. I told Macy yesterday. I said me and Avery had a talk last night. I said we had a talk. I think we're at an understanding now after the bottle incident. I said that was a bonding moment for us. We came together through adversity, so we're at a turning point in our relationship over our bottle fiasco. So we'll see how this weekend goes with that.
I honestly can't wait to openly talk about kind of the second pregnancy and as the podcast continues and kind of how it's been different than
It
than
yeah,
with Bryce.
it is
Significantly.
crazy. I'm excited because, like I said before, I kind of talked a little bit about it with you, but it's until you're going through it, it's like hard to explain because some of it's just it's different and it's just it's
I
wild.
forget she's pregnant sometimes.
Oh, I've been there, man. I've been there. It is wild. We'll get into that in a future episode because it is wild. It is fun to talk about. I'm super excited for you guys. Honestly, couldn't be more excited. I also think it's awesome because you get, like you said, two boys and I got two girls, and that's kind of cool too. Different perspectives on that, but
We
also having
honestly we did that for content.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it just
specifically.
sounds better, right? You know,
Yeah,
the all
yeah.
boy house
Girl
and the all girl
dad,
house.
boy mom.
Well, you
Yeah,
guys got the dog too, you know.
yeah.
So,
He's a boy, and you
yep,
guys
and I
have the
got the
dog who's a
girl. And
girl.
the girl. So
I didn't think
we're on
about that.
point. Yeah, we're on point. But
We gotta
before
stay
we finish,
consistent.
yeah, before we finish, Brendan, what do you got for a dad joke today?
I almost had the worst segue in history, but I'm not
Oh
gonna do it.
gosh.
But
Okay,
Jerry, what did the nut say while chasing the other nut?
let's hang out together.
Potentially, but after they said, "I'm a cashew,"
Oh, I
I'm a
was thinking
cashew.
my head was somewhere else.
That goes to the
The
almost the worst
segue? Yeah,
segue
I
in
kinda figured.
history
That's
in the
probably why I
history of the
went that
podcast.
way. Nice. All
And
right.
if you
Well,
know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking
I'll let that segue into our
about.
shameless plug. If you haven't already, like us on all our social media stuff, comment on our stuff, write a review, tell your friends about us. Honestly, that's the greatest compliment you can do. Go back, listen to more episodes, and message us. We like hearing from each and every single one of you. It really is a lot of fun doing this. Like I said, we both started this when we had no kids. Now we both are going to have two kids. Life's crazy, but life is great. We are truly blessed, and we are blessed to have all of you that listen to us. So until next time, I'm Jerry, joined here by the soon dad of two, Brandon, and you've been listening to Dad Jokes.